name is Heather.
And I'm Alex.
And we're here at the Greater Des Moines Botanical Garden for Plant Fact Friday. And I know what you're thinking, it's Thursday, but since the holiday weekend, we're coming to you one day early, and our theme this week is flowers. Now that is a very broad topic for a botanical garden, especially here where we have over 3,000 different plants with flowers of all shapes, colors, and sizes. But we actually had a question last week from a viewer named Caitlin, hi Caitlin, about sunflowers. So that's going to help us zero in on our topic this week. Now when you think of a sunflower, you're probably thinking of a big yellow flower with a black center that grows very, very tall. And the tallest sunflower is actually 27 feet tall. That's about as tall as a telephone pole. Now most are not that tall. And in fact, in our area, sunflowers are not blooming right now, but they just happen to be part of one of the largest, if not the largest plant families with a lot of lookalikes. The Asteraceae, or the composite family, is the family that includes daisies and sunflowers, zinnias, dandelions, coneflowers, and many, many other garden favorites. Behind me is one example of an Asteraceae relative. It's called the cup plant, and it's a native Iowa plant. And we're going to use this to talk about a strategy that Asteraceae, or composite flowers, have to be really, really efficient with their pollination. So I have two examples of flowers. This right here, this is a lily. This is one flower, very, very large, very beautiful, comes in so many different colors. And this is the flower of the cup plant. Now you'll notice that it is much smaller than the lily, but it does include a lot more flowers. So every sunflower, every cup flower, every cone flower contains not one, but hundreds of little flowers. Let me show you. On the outside, where there's petals coming out, these are called ray florets because they're the florets that make like a little sun ray. On the inside, every one of those little dots is a disc floret, a floret that doesn't have a petal, but it still has all of the parts of a flower. So here we have what looks like a flower. A pollinator's going to visit this thinking it'll get nectar from that one flower. And what it doesn't know is that when it visits, it's dropping off pollen and pollinating potentially hundreds of flowers. So different things work for different plants. And while a lily might want to invest all of that energy to make one big, beautiful, colorful flower, the Asteraceae family has decided it's worth it to make hundreds of little flowers and disguise them as one flower. Pretty clever. Let's talk with Alex about the parts of a plant.
Awesome. So here I have a lily, like Heather had. We're going to talk about the parts of a flower. The most common part that you might know are the petals that surround the flower. Those are there to protect the parts of the flower, but also attract the pollinators. So you can see this one has a nice dark pink flower color to attract those pollinators. Sometimes they have spots or stripes. Those are the petals. The next part that we're going to talk about is the anther. And these large brown pieces are the anthers. And on those anthers is the pollen. Now while these are brown, you can see if I rub my finger on the anther, you see that brown dusty stuff? That is the pollen. So although we think pollen is usually yellow, it can be brown, red, even pink or green. So the pollen during pollination travels from one flower to hopefully another flower, and it gets stuck on the sticky stigma, which is this part of the flower. You can see it right there, it looks kind of wet. That is because that is the nectar of the flower. So I remember this part by calling it the sticky stigma. That's usually in the center of the flower. So we have these parts of the flower. This is one flower, like Heather talked about. The cup plant flower also has the same parts, but many, many, many different flowers. So each one of these tiny pieces in the center has the same parts that the lily does. A lot smaller. If you want to dissect a flower at home, you can check out our flower fun packet that kind of walks you through flower dissection. You can also check out our activities and resources page for that. If you guys have any suggestions or comments or questions, put them down below. We can talk about it next week on Plant Fact Friday. Don't forget to buy your tickets to visit us next week. We are opening to the public next week, Monday, so don't forget to buy your tickets, and we'll see you next week.